Pronounced, defined, used in lexical dispatch. Breach, noun and verb. An action that breaks a law, rule, or agreement. Violation, infraction, a break or fissure, a broken part. Breaking, to violate, to break, to infringe, to leap clear of water. Ursine, adjective, of or relating to bears, bear-like. I understand that any failure to perform the foregoing agreement will constitute a breach of contract. We can argue that the leak was a breach of trust, possibly even a breach of contract, and we could conceivably debate the ethics of that. The ceasefire was reached, with each side warning the other that any breach of the ceasefire would not be tolerated. This case of rabies in wildlife implied a major breach in the vaccination program. Once we find out someone has a criminal history of dishonesty or breach of trust, we can no longer employ them. There is a high degree of a potential breach of security in the protection of the privacy of the police officers and the bad guys. He is seeking damages for negligence, breach of fiduciary duty, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, among other claims. The official said there was no impact or attempted breach of a classified system within the office. The company's move was a breach of its collective bargaining agreement with the unions. One exposure in the sunscreen group was discontinued from final analysis because of breach of protocol. Medical malpractice comes under the negligence part of tort law because it involves a breach of duty between a healthcare professional and a patient. One is so dissatisfied, in fact, that he has filed a lawsuit alleging breach of warranty. When the private sector does not generate enough skilled jobs, family and government should step into the breach. A breach in the containment vessel at a nuclear power plant could release radioactive particles into the environment. A breach in the diaphragm would cause immediate loss of pressure. A breach of a dam the size of the Three Gorges would create a catastrophe downstream. The pregnant woman was rushed to the hospital after she suffered a breach of her amniotic sac. The legions were able to breach the city walls, but could not further exploit the opening. His ears were up, and his eyes were wide in an expression of ursine surprise. The guide had come to lead our research team for evidence of the panda's ursine relative, the Asiatic black bear. After a few years, he found himself in love with both the landscape and its ursine residents. Upstream and around a bend, she could hear more ursine growling. A big-bellied ursine man of early middle age, his muscles already running to fat, hair combed back in a wave of grease and black gleam from his brow. He has determined that bear marking trees are not only territorial boundary markers, but are also important ursine message centers. The ursine populations were what would have been expected in the presence of such abundant food supplies. The old vision of ursine powers faded, became a medieval symbol of lust and sloth.